So a lot of programs have particle systems where they can do smoke and water and things like even hair. And in Nomad Sculpt, we don't have anything like that. So we've done a couple of videos on hair, how to those kind of solutions. So I thought I'd just do a video on how to put some kind of smoke on cards, just to give you a visual impact of having smoke in the scene. So follow along. First of all, I'll use Procreate, and then I'll take that into Nomad Sculpt. So let's dive right in. So to be able to create the smoke alpha, which is a black and white image that goes on a polygon or some polygons, we need that black and white image. So I'm here in Procreate, and I've just made a square, a 2048 by 2048, completely black. And that is a big important thing, is make sure it is literally as black as you can do. So make sure all of these numbers are completely, if it's the hexadecimal number, it should be hashtag 000000. So you want it to be completely black, or it will show. And then at that point, you can just switch your brush to white. Now you can use any brush you want for this, but anything that's got this kind of painterly cloud effect. I've got one here called Painted Clouds, and it's just like a scrumbly brush. It's literally, I mean, this is it. It's basically just a load of individual little brushes that when you have them set to quite transparent, you can then get a cloud effect like that. So the brush settings, just in case you want to see it, are here. So you can see the stroke path, jitter and fall. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but obviously we want them quite close together and we want them really erratic. The shape is just that, so that's just a black and white image of, you know, just literally some kind of noise. And the grain is just a cloudy grain. So that's how that brush was made. If you feel that's something that you want, I'll cover that in another video. So let's undo all of that and we'll start. So first of all, let's make a few of them. So the first one, first of all, make sure you're on a new layer, and then we'll do a smoke trail going up into the air. So first of all, I'll just do one line of where I want the smoke to go, something like that. And then if you go over the top of that but a bit harder, it'll build up in the same sort of area. So you'll get like a compounding effect. So the white gets whiter over the top of where you're, you know, of where you're painting. So if I go slightly bigger and slightly lower in opacity, it'll get bigger, more billowy effects. You can see how it's getting whiter underneath. That means the smoke will be more opaque. So wherever it's darker and the grays, it's going to be a lot less opaque. So you've got to think about how smoke looks. I mean, by all means, get some reference here and have a look at it. But anything, remember, the big important thing, if you've never done this before, is wherever is black is not going to be seen, wherever is white will be seen. And that will make us a nice smoke trail, something, or not a trail, like a smoke column, something like that. So that will do as a first one. And we'll just, I'll save it just to the easiest way to do it is just to export it to your photo library if you don't want to keep them particularly. And then what about a fog bank, so a layer of fog? So you could, for example, take that one, just turn it round, and we could just layer a bit more in, like so, and that will give us like literally a bank of fog, or a line of fog, like so. I'll go really dark in the, no, sorry, really light in the middle there, and then as you come up, you'll see that it gets less and less. And that's a bit more like smoke. You might think that could be used for smoke a bit more. So let's do export that one, and we'll save that. That's another one done. Now you can make that smaller, and you can then build on that even more. So we'll have that as almost like the middle bit, and then we'll come over and do some more, a little bit like a bit more random and lighter at the top. So there's definitely going to be more visual interest, but it won't be, you'll be able to see through it a lot more. So something like an arc across the top like that, like the smoke is, you know, billowing in the background, or the fog or the smoke is billowing. So we'll leave that. Now one good thing about that one there is that you've got like a dark area in the middle, so this could act as a frame. If you want to, you can put more black back in, like so. So I'm doing the opposite now. I'm putting black over the top of the white, and you can see it's going back to black there. Or what you can do is you can use that same brush as an eraser with a low setting, and I will just slowly erase the white, so we get that kind of more of a central effect there. So let's save that one. Save that as a JPEG. And let's switch over to Nomad Sculpt and have a look at what we can do with them. Okay, so I've got the Meg Mucklebones that I've made in recent videos. This was made in Gravity Sketch in VR, and obviously we've done what we do and sculpted it up here in Nomad Sculpt. So I want to put green smoke around her, or green fog, whatever we define it as. And you can see this is set up as a lit scene, and I've got lights all around, so you can see the subsurface scattering coming through the ears there. That's because there's a light behind there pushing light through, and her material is set to, as you can see, subsurface up here. So let's just get her back to where we were with that nice lighting like that. And now what we need is some planes to put the smoke on. Now with the 1.85 update, planes are now automatically UV mapped. So what do I mean by that? So put a plane in the scene, and we can, now she is quite large, so the plane is actually there, it's hidden away in the background there. It's tiny, tiny in the middle. So what we can do is we can come into these settings here, and we can just scale it right up. So remember, the default settings in Nomad are 1. So this is a real world size head. If you start anything in Nomad, that's a 1mm shape. So we've got that cube now, and as I've said, I'm going to bring the topology right down. You can see it, the grid now, you can see it getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I only need this to be 1 polygon because it's just going to be a plane. If you want to bend the smoke at any point, you'd need more. So in fact, I will do that for this exercise. I'll give it about 10 divisions, and then I will just say validate. And then that's been made. Now we've got post-processing on there, which is why it's gone blurry. So I'm going to turn off depth of field for now, so you can see it clear all the way from the back to the front. But I want to rotate this 90 degrees forward. To check it, you can go do it up here. So if you have that open there, you can see the number that's changing on the rotation. The one that you want there is this here. So this one should be 90. So if we just go tap in, instead of rotating it, you can just literally tap in 90, and that means your plane is now 90 degrees from where it was, which is exactly what we wanted. Now the big important thing is that we look here and look at inspect, and you can see that it is already UV mapped. So you can't do the next bit without it being UV mapped. So that's done. So we simply come up here, exactly the same as we do with hair. We just come up to the top and we find our texture settings here. So we want it in our opacity channel, and we go photos, and we'll just pick the, let's say the last one we did, and that will give us, as you can see, a smoky effect already. So let's turn that off. Now it looks like, as you can see here, it's actually showing some of it in here, but if I rotate my lights around, you can see it's actually not exactly true. It is 100% black, but you might still see something like that. So you've got to mess around with your lighting, and obviously make sure under opacity here that it is set at exactly where you want it. Now you can knock your opacity down, and that will get rid of that problem eventually, but you've got to, until we color it, we're not going to be 100% sure. So next thing that we want to do is make sure that some of the quality settings are on. So let's up the sampling amount. And also one thing that does cause a problem in here sometimes is if we have down at the bottom, if we have anti-aliasing on. If you still have problems and you're still seeing things around the edge, go back and double check that you're 100% black. So I just basically made really sure that I was all the way black. And then it seems to have reduced that effect around the edge. So now what about color? So obviously this is seeing the white plane and it's alphaing it out. So we haven't painted the plane at all. It's just a plain white plane, no pun intended. So if we change the color of the plane, it will be just the color that it changes to. So if you want a green fog, that's pretty much how you do it. You just change it to green and then just do a paint all. And now you can play with the roughness and the metalness. And what I've found is roughness causes problems because it can get a reflection. You could see it down here in the corner. Let me go back to that again and just show you as I change the roughness. You can see a little reflection down here. So we want roughness all the way up, and you would think that metalness would be all the way down. You wouldn't want any metalness, but oddly I've found that if you increase the metalness, for some reason it does make it a bit flatter and more matte. So I would definitely say have a go at that and try those settings. So what you're seeing there now is a layer of fog. Now, this is the front of the polygon. This isn't the kind of thing where you can spin it around. Because it's on a 2D plane, it's not going to be easy. And on the back, it will either be invisible or it will be a different color than your fog. So you're really going to aim for using this, you know, from a single angle. So what you can do at this point is you could say, take that plane, and you could clone it, and then you could move that plane back and rotate it 90 degrees roughly and scale it up a bit, and that gives you another layer of fog at the back. So that's going to start giving you, I mean, it's giving us a little bit of you can see in that view we got a little bit of banding. I don't know whether you can see it or whether it's on my iPad, but if you just get it in the right angle and you move the light round, then you'll absolutely get it fine. So be careful with the lights, and you have got to experiment with this a bit because the lights can reflect off the planes a little bit, and that might be where some of that banding is coming from. So have a play with the settings of the light and make sure that that's working for you in that way. Now the other one we can do is we can use another alpha, so we can clone it again, and we'll bring this one right to the front this time. So we'll bring it all the way to the front. Yeah, and from the side, you can see there what I'm doing. It makes it a lot easier to see. And then back into textures, and we'll go back down to our opacity, and we'll change it out for one of the others. So we'll say maybe the first one we had to go at, the smoke, more of a straight up smoke, something like that. And that's going to give us the ability, if you make that smaller, you can see there we can do specific bits of smoke trails. So if you wanted something particularly covering one part of the face, for example, and bear in mind you can scale it up, and you can even do the move brush on it now. Now if you move brush, just make sure that painting is off here or you will get a color change, and then just move it as you need to, and then the smoke will move basically. Make sure symmetry is off like I didn't, and you've got smoke trails that you can now manipulate a little bit. Be careful because it's on a plane, so it will start to stretch, but you can get some really nice effects by layering these up. Gives you a nice swirling smoke effect like that. So if you want this, you can even use this for magic, so if you know something coming out of fingers, or black ink I've done it with it as well, so you can, you know, like do dementors and stuff like that, so you can really get some nice effects. Don't forget you could smooth the plane down as well. You could smooth it back if it's starting to get a little bit janky, or you can increase the resolution, so multi-res, subdivide, and that gives you a lot more to play with there. So you could make it into, you know, you're almost making it into a creature there. So the smokes become, you know, something that you can manipulate much more like a character. But this is super useful from this kind of front angle. Remember, it's on plane, so you're not going to get a very good shot from the side. So if you're doing turntables, this won't work. If you're going to export this, it's not going to work unless you're going to a system that can handle the opacity. But that, you can really get some really nice effects just with that one way of adding smoke to a plane. Don't forget also you can move the ones in the background and bend them a little. So you could do this, do a really large brush, and then bring them forward, and they bend like so. So you can bend it around the character while you're, you know, while you're positioning it, and that will give you a different effect. Like, this will give you some really ghostly effects. So this is quite useful as well. It's all about the positioning and the placing. Remember, it's real time, it's live, so it's updating. and it, you know, it will look different as you're moving it than when it resolves, and that's when you've got to check for like this banding and things like that. And you can solve it just by, you know, with placement of your lights and a good, you know, a good amount of time just placing things correctly in the scene. You're going to get some really nice effects. Thanks for watching the video, and I do hope you liked it. Our goal for this channel was to help you create in new and innovative ways, and we're always looking at new types of software to help us do that. So if you do like it, give us a thumbs up, and if you like it enough to give us a thumbs up, then why not have a look down below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and have a great week, everyone.